So, you've installed an InvisiBrake, but something went wrong with the installation. The problem is you can't figure out what that might be. David Robinson, the marketing director for Roadmaster Incorporated, is here to talk about some of the troubleshooting issues that we see most often.
Hi, I'm David Robinson, and I'm the marketing director here at Roadmaster. And there are 4 common things that can make an InvisiBrake installation more challenging than it should be. And we'll kind of go through them, but the 4 items that I want to talk about is check the existing wiring on the motorhome and the towed car. I want to talk about proper ground. I want to talk about bulb and socket kits. And I also want to talk about diodes. All 4 of those things are critical to have correct in order for a successful, quick, and easy installation. So let's start off with talking about the wiring. When the customer brings his car and his motorhome into your shop, before you even start wiring the InvisiBrake, you need to hook up the car to the motorhome and make certain that the wiring is correct. A lot of customers have wiring issues before they get to you, and they just don't know it. Particularly if it's just a loose connection. It might work fine in the parking lot, but you get out on the road and it starts to jiggle and vibrate, and all of a sudden things don't work. But they don't know they don't work because they're not behind their own RV as they're driving down the road. So it's important that you check all the lights, turn signals, brake lights, and so forth, and make certain that they're functioning properly. Not only will that help ensure that the InvisiBrake is going to work better, but it will also prevent them from accusing you of doing something that now prevents their lighting system from working properly. So check the lighting of the car and the motorhome. The second thing that I wanted to mention was the ground. The ground is so very important. We've got several wires coming between the car and the motorhome, but there's only one ground wire, and that one ground wire has to take care of left turn, right turn, brakes, tail lights. So having a proper and good ground will go miles towards making sure that you don't have problems with the wiring later on. If you've got an InvisiBrake that's just doing some strange things after you've hooked it up, it's most likely a ground issue. And you can check that most easily by taking a pair of jumper cables, hook up one end of the jumper cable to something that's grounded well in the car, take the other end of the jumper cables, hook it up to something that's well grounded on the motorhome, and then retest the InvisiBrake. And if it's a poor ground, it should start acting properly right away. So ground is crucial. The third topic that I wanted to talk about is bulb and socket kits. There's nothing at all wrong with using a bulb and socket kit in your towed car. A lot of customers like to use bulb and sockets because they don't have to cut any of the car's wiring. They typically will drill a hole in the tail light, pop this in, and then these wires get hooked up to the motorhome. And that's fine. The problem is that these wires are not hooked up to the car. When the InvisiBrake operates, it will be working off the same circuit, that is the wire that comes from the motorhome. It will be connected to the same wire that this bulb and socket is, but this bulb is not grounded to the car. So if you're going to use bulb and sockets, InvisiBrake will only function properly if you take the ground wire for this bulb, tee into it, and literally run it to a ground plug. You definitely have to ground these bulb and sockets or InvisiBrake's not going to function the way you want it. The last topic that I wanted to cover is diodes. Now, almost everybody that's wiring tow cars today knows that you need to install diodes. But there are some shops that either haven't had that experience, or some shops will, instead of using a 2-in, 1-out diode, they'll just use a single terminal in, single terminal out diode. And that just won't work. You must have diodes with InvisiBrake, or else InvisiBrake won't function. And you must have diodes that allow the motorhome's wire and the towed car's wire to come together, illuminate the bulb on the back of the car, but not allow any backfeed to either the motorhome or to the towed car. So if you do not have a diode, and if you do not have the diode installed properly, what will happen, and you'll be able to tell this pretty easily, if you hook up the car to the motorhome, step on the brakes in the motorhome, and the InvisiBrake comes on and will not release for 15 seconds, it's most likely the fact that you don't have the diode or it's not wired correctly with the diode. What occurs is that when the motorhome's wire comes back, that same wire from the motorhome is energizing the InvisiBrake. And the InvisiBrake says, oh, the brakes are on in the motorhome, I need to turn on. And it does. But now the brake light switch is activated in the towed car. It sends a signal back to the rear of the car saying, hey, my brake light should come on. But because there's no diode to separate the car's wiring from the motorhome's wiring, when the juice from the car hits that junction of the motorhome and the InvisiBrake, it backfeeds into the InvisiBrake, sending a loop of current through that InvisiBrake. So the InvisiBrake wants to stay on all the time. It won't release. We do have a safety device built into the InvisiBrake where it will release the brakes after 15 seconds, and that's why the InvisiBrake releases after 15 seconds. But what it will not do is brake as you expect, because the very next time that you step on the brakes, again, it'll be on for 15 seconds. So kind of a quick diagnostic is if the InvisiBrake comes on and stays on for 15 seconds and shuts off, and then repeats itself when you step on the brakes again, it's a diode issue. So those are the most common issues that would arise, and if you wire the car properly, check to make sure the wiring's right, make sure you've got a good ground, that'll eliminate the vast majority of the issues that anybody has when wiring or installing an InvisiBrake. I hope that information is helpful.